All right, so today we're really diving deep, going beyond those cybersecurity basics that everyone's heard a million times.
Right.
You've sent over some really cool stuff for us to go over, like especially these excerpts from, is it Texto Pagado?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, cool.
It's should give us a lot to unpack. Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely. Yeah. So,
And I think it'll be,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it'll be interesting to see, especially for our listeners who are already pretty savvy about cybersecurity,
Yeah.
to kind of like look at some of these more recent developments and stuff.
Absolutely.
Because things are changing so fast. And
Constantly, yeah. And one thing that really kind of stood out to me when I was reading through Texto Pagado was this example of the recent cyber attack on that hospital.
oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, that was just crazy to me how these guys just came in, hit him with this ransomware and basically like shut the whole system down.
Totally crippled him. Yeah. And I mean, you think about it, it's not just computers going down, right? We're talking surgeries,
Lives on the line, yeah.
people's lives, treatments, everything gets delayed.
Absolutely. It's a huge deal.
So I think that's a good place for us to start, maybe.
Yeah, jump right in.
Because I think Texel Brigado also does a good job of laying out some like core concepts, right?
Right.
And I think even for people who, like I said, are kind of more up on all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's good to revisit them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it can be easy to
Absolutely.
to kind of forget or to not realize like all the little things that go into it.
It's like, you can know how to drive a car,
Right.
but you don't necessarily know how the engine works.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And it's good to have that understanding,
So speaking of those core concepts, I mean, right at the beginning, Texel Brigado talks about authentication and authorization.
Yeah, those are the two biggies right off the bat.
Can you break those down for us? Because I know they sound similar.
Yeah, they definitely do. And people mix them up all the time.
Right.
So think of it this way.
Okay.
Imagine a bank vault, right?
Okay. I like where this is going.
Super secure, lots of layers of protection.
Hmm.
Authentication is like proving you have the key to get in.
Got it.
You show your ID, you punch in the code, whatever it takes.
Right.
But authorization, that's about what you're allowed to do once you're inside.
Oh.
So you might be able to get into the vault, you're authenticated.
You got the key.
Right, you got the key.
Yeah.
But you might only be authorized to access your own safety deposit box.
Makes sense.
Not everyone else's.
So it's like one is about proving who you are
Exactly.
and the other is about what you're allowed to do.
Exactly. And both are absolutely essential.
That's a really good analogy. I like that a lot.
Glad it helps.
Yeah. So basically, even if someone, let's say they do manage to break in, they crack a password or something,
Right.
authorization protocols can still limit the damage.
Exactly. It's like that extra layer of security, even if they get through the first door.
You can't just go wandering around wherever they want.
Exactly.
That's really important. And, Texto Pagado also talks about multi-factor authentication.
Yeah, that's becoming more and more common, and for good reason.
Right.
It's basically like adding another lock to that vault door.
Okay, so it's not just your password.
Right. It could be a code sent to your phone.
Oh, like a text message or something?
Yeah, exactly. Or fingerprint scan or security token.
Right.
So even if someone steals your password, they still need that second factor.
That makes it so much harder for them.
Way harder.
So that's definitely a good practice.
Absolutely. Everyone should be using multi-factor authentication whenever possible.
Okay, so we've talked about authentication and authorization.
The gatekeepers, so to speak.
Right.
But now we got to talk about the stuff that's trying to get through those gates.
The bad guy.
Bad guys, exactly.
And I think, Texto Pagado spends a good chunk of time talking about malware.
Oh, yeah. Malware is a whole world unto itself.
And that's always been something that kind of, like, gives me the chills,
It's definitely scary stuff.
because it feels so, like, insidious.
It is. It's like it gets in there and you don't even know it's there and it's doing all this stuff.
Exactly. So can you give us a rundown of, like, what exactly malware is and, like, what are the different types?
Sure. So malware, it's basically short for malicious software.
Go.
And it's any kind of software that's designed to harm your computer or steal your information.
Got it.
Now, there are tons of different types.
Okay.
But some of the most common ones, you've got viruses, worms, Trojan horses, spyware, ransomware.
You mentioned ransomware earlier.
Right. And that's definitely one that's been making headlines a lot lately.
Yeah, and I think, like, people hear about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if they really understand what it is.
Yeah, it can be confusing.
So is it that different from a regular virus?
It is in a way. So like a regular virus, it might delete your files
Right.
or slow down your computer.
Just chaos.
Right, just be a nuisance, basically.
Yeah.
But ransomware, it's all about the money.
Oh, okay.
It encrypts your files.
Meaning, like, it locks them up,
Exactly. It locks them up so you can't access them.
and then what?
And then they demand a ransom
To get the key.
to get the key to unlock them.
And they usually want, like, cryptocurrency or something, right?
Yeah, often Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency.
Because it's hard to track.
Exactly. It's harder to trace.
And Texto Pagado mentioned that they're even going after, like, cloud backups now.
Yeah, that's the really scary part.
So even if you have a backup,
It might not be safe.
oh, man, that's pretty scary.
It is, and it just shows how sophisticated these attacks are becoming.
So how do we even protect ourselves from all this stuff?
Well, first and foremost, you got to have good security software.
Like antivirus?
Yeah, antivirus, anti-malware, keep it up to date.
Updated, okay.
Because they're constantly coming out with new definitions to catch the latest threats.
So it's not just like a one-time thing.
Nope, you got to stay on top of it.
Got it.
And then, of course, safe browsing habits.
Like, what does that mean?
Don't click on suspicious links.
Even if they look like they're from someone I know.
Especially if they look like they're from someone you know, because that's how a lot of these attacks spread.
Okay.
Phishing emails, they often look like they're from a friend or a legitimate company,
Right.
but they're trying to trick you into clicking on a malicious link.
And, you were telling me earlier about a phishing attempt that you almost fell for.
Oh, yeah, it was a close one.
Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So I got this email, looked like it was from my bank.
Okay.
Had the logo, everything looked super official.
So you thought it was legit.
Yeah, I almost clicked on the link to check my account.
What stopped you?
Well, something just felt off about it. So I hovered my mouse over the link.
Without clicking.
Without clicking, yeah.
Good move.
And I saw that the actual URL was totally different from my bank's website.
Oh, so it was like a fake website.
Exactly. It was a phishing site designed to steal my login credentials.
Wow. So glad you caught that.
Me too. It was a close call.
That's a really good example of how sophisticated these attacks can be.
Yeah, they're getting really good at making these emails look convincing.
And Texto Pagado talks about this too, how they're using like personalized information now.
Oh, yeah, that's a new term.
From social media and stuff.
Right. They might know your name, your job title, even some of your interests.
And they use that to make the email seem more believable.
Exactly. So you really got to be careful about what information you share online.
Because it can be used against you.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like vigilance is key.
Absolutely.
Not just relying on technology.
Right. You can't just assume that your computer is going to protect you from everything.
You got to use your brain too.
Yeah.
But speaking of technology, I mean, we do need those digital bouncers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Got to have those defenses in place.
And Texto Pagado talks a lot about firewalls.
Yeah, firewalls are essential.
So can you explain, like in simple terms, what exactly a firewall does?
Sure. So a firewall, it's basically a barrier between your computer or network and the outside world.
Okay.
It monitors all the incoming and outgoing network traffic.
Like the data that's coming in and out.
Exactly. And it blocks anything that doesn't meet certain security rules.
So it's like a security guard for your computer.
Exactly. Like a bouncer at a club.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Only letting in the good traffic, keeping out the bad stuff.
So it's stopping attacks before they even reach your device.
Ideally, yes.
That's pretty cool.
It's a really important first line of defense.
And Texto Pagado also mentions different types of firewalls, right?
Yeah, there are a few different kinds.
It got a little technical for me.
Yeah, I can get pretty deep in the weeds.
But it seemed like choosing the right type was important.
It is, yeah. It depends on your needs.
So, like, what are the main types?
Well, you've got hardware firewalls,
Okay.
which are physical devices.
Like a piece of equipment.
Yeah, exactly. Often used in large organizations.
Okay.
And then you've got software firewalls.
Which are like programs on your computer.
Exactly. And those are usually sufficient for home users.
Got it.
And then there are also cloud-based firewalls,
Oh, okay.
which are hosted by a third-party provider.
So it's like the service you subscribe to.
Exactly. And those can be a good option for businesses that don't want to manage their own hardware.
Interesting. So it sounds like there's a firewall for everyone.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, stepping back for a second, it's clear from everything we've talked about, from Texto Pagado and from our own experience, that cybersecurity is really multifaceted, right?
Totally. It's not just one thing.
Right. We've got authentication and authorization to protect our accounts.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be aware of malware like ransomware and all these other threats.
Yeah.
And then firewalls are there to kind of act as that frontline defense.
Right. Like a shield.
but it feels like it's a constant battle
It is. It's a race against the bad guys.
because they're always coming up with new
Oh,
tricks.
yeah, they're constantly evolving.
So how do we stay ahead of the curve?
Well, knowledge is power.
Meaning,
Stay informed about the latest threats.
like, how do we do that?
There are lots of great resources out there, websites, blogs, podcasts.
Okay, keep learning.
Exactly, and keep your software updated.
Right, those updates are important.
Crucial. They often include security patches.
And strong passwords, we can't forget about those.
Absolutely. Strong and unique passwords for every account.
That's a tough one.
I know, it's a lot to keep track of, but it's worth it.
And then just being skeptical, right?
Yeah, don't trust everything you see online.
Like those phishing emails.
Exactly. Always double check before you click on anything.
So it sounds like in addition to all the technical stuff, there's also a mindset shift that's needed.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just set it and forget it.
No, it's got to be an ongoing thing.
You got to be vigilant.
Exactly. Always be thinking about security.
Well, I think this has been a really great overview, and I really appreciate you taking the time to break all this down for us.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk cybersecurity.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about, something to ponder.
All right, let's hear it.
So we've talked about how cybersecurity is constantly evolving, right? And we've seen how technology is changing at an incredible pace.
Faster and faster.
So I'm wondering, with the rise of artificial intelligence, with the Internet of Things, all these devices connected to the Internet,
This whole new world out there.
how do you think the cybersecurity landscape is going to change in the coming years?
Ooh, that's a great question.
What new challenges are we going to face?
Well, for one thing, the attack surface is going to be way bigger.
Meaning, there are more things that could be attacked.
Exactly. More devices, more data, more vulnerabilities.
And what about the attackers themselves?
They're going to be using AI, too, to automate their attacks, make them even more sophisticated.
So it's going to be a whole new arms race.
Absolutely. It's going to be a wild ride.
Well, on that note, I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah, lots to think about.
Thanks again for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, stay safe out there in the digital world.
And stay informed.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.